Victoria thought she was clever. She thought she could bully my granddaughter Mia into signing over her $50 million trust the morning after the wedding. She brought a notary and a smile. She didn't know I had planted a poison pill in that contract years ago. By the time she realized what she had done, she hadn't just lost the money. She had lost everything. Hello ladies, Mary here. They say that money cannot buy happiness, but it certainly can buy a very convincing mask. I have spent 40 years in real estate, and I have learned to spot the difference between real wealth and a line of credit. Real wealth is quiet, it wears comfortable shoes and drives a car 10 years old. Fake wealth is loud. It wears logos and talks about investments at dinner parties. Victoria was the loudest woman I had ever met. And unfortunately, she was about to become my granddaughter's mother-in-law. My name is Iris. I built my empire on grit and cheap coffee in the 80s. I turned a single rundown duplex into a portfolio worth $50 million. But I never flashed it. I lived in the same ranch house I bought in 1990. My granddaughter Mia grew up thinking we were comfortable but ordinary. I wanted her to be loved for her heart, not her inheritance. I sat in the corner of the bridal boutique, watching Mia twirl in a dress that cost more than my first car. She looked like an angel. Soft, trusting, glowing. "Oh Mia, you look expensive," Victoria cooed. She was standing too close to the mirror, touching the lace with greedy fingers. "You look like a girl who comes from serious quality." Victoria was wearing a tweed suit that screamed old money, but I noticed the fraying hem on her sleeve. I noticed that she put the champagne on her credit card, and it took 3 tries to go through. "It is just a dress, Victoria," Mia said, laughing. "Chase loves me in sweatpants." Victoria's smile tightened. "Chase loves that you have standards, darling. We have to make sure you two start off on the right foot financially. Have you and your grandmother discussed the arrangements?" She meant the dowry, the trust, the invisible price tag on Mia's head. I stood up. My knees popped, but my voice was steady. "We are handling everything, Victoria," I said, walking over. "Mia has a small savings account for a rainy day, but mostly she is bringing her work ethic to the marriage." Victoria looked at me like I was a cockroach on a wedding cake. "Oh, surely there is a family trust," she pressed, her eyes darting between us. "A girl with her education? There must be something set aside." Mia opened her mouth to speak. I stepped in. "It is tied up in charity," I lied smoothly. "I believe in giving back." "Mia agrees." Victoria turned pale. Her hand slipped off Mia's shoulder. "Charity," she whispered. "How noble." That night, I sat Mia down in my kitchen. The air smelled of lemon polish and anxiety. "Mia," I said, pouring her a cup of tea, "you need to listen to me very carefully. You are sitting on a trust fund worth $50 million. It unlocks the moment you say I do." Mia's eyes went wide. She almost dropped her cup. "Grandma, 50 million? Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to find a man who loves you," I said, "not a man who loves your bank balance. And Mia, you cannot tell Chase. And you absolutely cannot tell his mother." "But Chase isn't like that," Mia argued. "He is sweet. He is an artist, and Victoria, she is just intense. She just wants us to be secure." "Victoria wants a payout," I said sharply. "I have seen the way she looks at you. She doesn't see a daughter-in-law. She sees a winning lottery ticket." Mia shook her head. "You are just being cynical, Grandma. They are good people. Good people don't ask about trust funds while you are trying on wedding dresses," I said. I promised her I wouldn't interfere. I promised I would be nice, but I didn't promise I would be blind. The next morning, I made a phone call to a private investigator I used for background checks on my tenants. His name was Saul. He was expensive and he had 0 personality, but he could find a needle in a haystack. "Saul," I said, "I need you to look into the Carter family, Victoria and Chase, dig deep. I want to know who owns their house. I want to know about their debts. I want to know what they ate for breakfast in 1999. I have a bad feeling, Saul, The kind of feeling you get right before the roof caves in. Saul called me back 48 hours before the wedding. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. Iris, he said, his voice gravelly, it is a house of cards, a literal house of cards. Tell me, I said, gripping the phone. The mansion in the hills? It's not there, Saul said. It's a rental, and they are 3 months behind on the lease. The cars are leased. The jewelry is rented. And Victoria Carter? She is currently being sued by the IRS for tax evasion. She owes $2 million, Iris, and the bank is foreclosing on her summer home next Tuesday. I felt a cold chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Tuesday, the wedding was Saturday. They are on a deadline, I whispered. That is why they are rushing. They need a cash infusion before the gavel comes down next week. It gets worse, Saul added. Chase knows. His name is on the co-signed loans. He isn't just a mama's boy, Iris. He is an accomplice. I hung up the phone. My hand was shaking, not from fear but from rage. They were leading my granddaughter to the altar, not to love her but to harvest her. They were looking at her as a bailout package. I wanted to run to Mia. I wanted to shake her and scream the truth, but I stopped myself. Mia was in love. She was wearing rose-colored glasses so thick, she couldn't see the red flags. If I told her now, she would think I was being cruel. She would run to Chase, and Chase would spin a sob story about temporary cash flow issues. Mia would probably offer to pay the debt herself to save the family. She was generous to a fault. No, I couldn't stop the wedding. I had to let the trap spring, but I had to make sure it snapped on their necks, not hers. I called my lawyer, Mr. Sterling. Sterling, I said, I need to make an emergency amendment to the Mia Vance Trust. It is late, Iris, Sterling groaned. I don't care what time it is, I snapped. I want to add a poison pill clause. Clause 44C. If the beneficiary attempts to transfer, pledge, or commingle the trust assets within the first year of marriage, without the trustees, that is me, explicit written notarized consent, the trust dissolves. Dissolves, Sterling asked. To where? To the feline friend's sanctuary, I said, a wicked smile touching my lips. Victoria hated cats. She was allergic. Every single penny. That is aggressive, Sterling noted. It is necessary, I said. Draft it. I will sign it in the morning. The wedding day was a blur of white lace and white lies. I watched Victoria hold court in the front row, dabbing fake tears with a silk handkerchief. She looked at Mia walking down the aisle like a wolf looking at a lamb chop. Chase looked sweaty. He looked like a man who knew the clock was ticking. At the reception, I stayed sober. I watched. I saw Victoria pull Mia aside near the cake table. She touched Mia's arm, whispered something in her ear, and patted her cheek. Mia nodded, looking a little confused but compliant. I walked over as Victoria slinked away. What did she say, honey? I asked, keeping my voice light. Oh, just family stuff, Mia said, flushing slightly. She said she wants to come by tomorrow morning, to the honeymoon suite, just to drop off a gift and sign some housekeeping papers. She said it is tradition to get the boring stuff out of the way, so we can enjoy the honeymoon. Housekeeping papers. I knew exactly what those were. Post-nuptial agreements, consolidation of assets, power of attorney. They weren't waiting a week. They weren't even waiting a day. They were coming for the money, while the confetti was still on the floor. How nice of her, I said, smoothing Mia's hair. What time? 9 Mia said. Wonderful, I smiled. I kissed her cheek. I love you, Mia. Remember that. I left the party early. I didn't go home to sleep. I went home to prepare. If Victoria wanted a meeting at 9 a.m., I would be there. And I wouldn't be coming alone. There is a sacred rule about the morning after a wedding. It is supposed to be lazy. It is supposed to be filled with room service pancakes, tangled sheets, and that soft, quiet happiness of realizing you are finally husband and wife. It is absolutely not the time for contract law, but predators don't care about sacred moments. They don't care about romance. They only care about the timeline. And Victoria knew her timeline was expiring on Tuesday. I arrived at the Ritz-Carlton at 8:45 a.m. I was 15 minutes early, which in my book is exactly on time. I wasn't wearing my usual grandmotherly cardigan. I was wearing my closing day suit, a sharp navy blazer, and heels that clicked on the marble floor like a warning shot. I went to the front desk. The clerk smiled at me. "Can I help you, ma'am?" "I am Iris Vance," I said. "My granddaughter is in the presidential suite. I need a key. I believe there is a breakfast delivery scheduled." I had paid for the suite, so my name was on the reservation. The clerk handed me the key card without a second thought. I took the elevator up to the penthouse floor. My heart was beating a little fast, but my hands were steady. I stood outside the heavy mahogany double doors. I listened. I didn't hear laughter. I didn't hear the clinking of champagne glasses. I heard Victoria's voice. And it wasn't the sweet, syrupy voice she used in public. It was the sharp, metallic voice of a woman negotiating a hostage release. "Just sign it, Mia," Victoria was saying. "It is standard. Chase already signed his. Don't you trust your husband?" "I do," Mia's voice sounded small, wobbly. "But Grandma said I should wait. She said I shouldn't rush." "Grandma isn't here," Victoria snapped. "And frankly, Grandma doesn't understand high finance. She is old school. This is modern wealth management, darling. We are protecting you." I swiped the key card. The light turned green. I didn't knock. I pushed the door open and walked in. The scene before me was enough to make my blood boil. The curtains were drawn, shutting out the beautiful ocean view. The room didn't smell like flowers. It smelled of stale coffee and stress. Mia was sitting at the dining table in her white silk robe, her hair messy, looking like a frightened child. Chase was standing by the window, staring out, refusing to look at his wife. And there, hovering over Mia like a vulture, was Victoria. She was fully dressed in a red power suit, her hand pressing a pen toward Mia's fingers. Sitting across from them was a man I had never seen before. He was sweaty, balding, and had a notary stamp sitting in front of him like a weapon. "Good morning," I said loudly. The room froze. Victoria whipped around. Her eyes went wide, then narrowed into slits. "Iris," she said, her voice dripping with fake ice. "What a surprise. We weren't expecting you." "Clearly," I said, walking into the room and placing my purse on the console table. "Mia told me you were coming to drop off a gift. I love gifts. I wanted to see it." I looked at the table. There were no gift boxes, just stacks of legal paper. Thick, dense documents with little sign here flags sticking out like warning signs. "It is a financial gift," Victoria said quickly, trying to block my view of the papers. "An investment opportunity. We are consolidating the family assets into a single managed fund to save on taxes." "Consolidating," I repeated. I looked at Chase. "Is that what we are doing, Chase?" Chase turned around. He looked sick. "Hi, Iris." "Yeah. Mom says it's better for everyone." "Mom says," I echoed. "Well, if Mom says so." I walked over to the table. Mia looked up at me, relief washing over her face. She looked like she was drowning, and I had just thrown her a life raft. "Grandma," Mia whispered. "They said I have to sign now because the fiscal quarter ends tomorrow. They said if I wait, we lose tax benefits." "The fiscal quarter," I mused. "That sounds very urgent." I picked up the top document. Victoria tried to snatch it, but I was faster. I put on my reading glasses. I adjusted my glasses and scanned the page. Legal documents are a language of their own, designed to bore you into submission so you sign away your life just to make the reading stop. But I have been reading contracts since the Reagan administration. I skipped the whereas and the herein fluff and went straight to the clauses. It was a work of art, really, if by art you mean larceny. The document wasn't a management fund. It was an irrevocable transfer of assets into an entity called Carter Legacy Holdings, LLC. And guess who the sole managing member was? Not Mia. Not Chase. Victoria Carter. Clause 14. The managing member shall have full, unrestricted authority to liquidate, leverage, or encumber assets for the benefit of the family estate. Clause 22. The grantor Mia waives all rights to audit or review financial statements for a period of 5 years. I looked up. The notary, a man whose name tag read B. Miller, was wiping sweat from his upper lip with a dirty handkerchief. He knew this was dirty. He just wanted his $50. This is fascinating, I said, my voice dangerously calm. Clause 14 essentially says you can take Mia's $50 million by a private island, and she can't even ask for a receipt until she is 30. Victoria laughed, a brittle tinkling sound that grated on my nerves. Oh, Iris, you are being dramatic. That is just boilerplate language. It allows me to move quickly on investments. You know how the market is. If you hesitate, you lose. And the fiscal quarter deadline, I asked, turning to the notary. Mr. Miller, is there a tax law that requires asset consolidation by Tuesday? Or is that just when the bank comes for Mrs. Carter's house? The room went dead silent. Victoria's face dropped. The mask slipped just for a second, revealing the panicked animal underneath. I don't know what you are talking about, Victoria snapped. My house is fine. Is it? I asked. Because my sources say the foreclosure notice was posted yesterday. Lies, Victoria screamed. She stood up, knocking her chair back. You are trying to poison Mia against us. You are jealous because she is a Carter now. She turned to Mia, grabbing her hand. Her grip looked painful. Mia, baby, listen to me, Victoria pleaded, her eyes wide and manic. She is lying. She hates me. You have to sign this if you don't. The family, we have some temporary liquidity issues, just a cash flow gap. This trust will fix everything. We can pay it back next month. I promise. Mia looked at Victoria, then at Chase. Chase, Mia asked, her voice trembling, is that true? Is your mom losing her house? Chase looked at his shoes. He looked at the ceiling. He looked everywhere except at his wife. It's complicated, Mia, Chase mumbled. Mom just needs a bridge loan, we figured, since you have so much and we are married now. It shouldn't matter whose pocket it comes from. There it was, the entitlement. The what's yours is mine mentality, applied to a fortune he hadn't earned and didn't deserve. Mia pulled her hand away from Victoria. She looked at the pen on the table like it was a poisonous snake. You lied to me, Mia whispered. You said this was for taxes. You said it was standard. It is standard for families to help each other, Victoria yelled. She grabbed the pen and shoved it toward Mia. Sign it. Just sign the damn paper, Mia. We don't have time for this drama. I stepped in. I put my hand firmly over the document. She isn't signing, Victoria, I said. Victoria glared at me, her chest heaving. She has to. She is my daughter-in-law. She is under my roof. She is in a hotel room I paid for, I corrected. And she isn't signing this version. I paused. I let the silence hang there. I saw a flicker of hope in Victoria's eyes. What do you mean this version? Victoria asked, her voice softening slightly. I mean, I lied, setting the trap, that I am not opposed to helping the family. If you are in trouble, you should have just asked. I have my own checkbook, Victoria. Victoria exhaled. Her shoulders dropped. She thought she had me. She thought I was the soft-hearted grandmother who would pay off the ransom to keep the peace. Well, Victoria smoothed her skirt. We are proud people, Iris. It is hard to ask. But yes, the situation is urgent. If you could authorize the release of the funds, I can do better than that, I said. I reached into my purse and pulled out a sleek blue folder. The one Mr. Sterling had prepared last night. I anticipated there might be administrative needs, I said. So I brought the official trust transfer authorization. It moves the funds directly from the holding account to the beneficiary's control. Victoria's eyes practically glowed. She licked her lips. Directly to the beneficiary? To Mia? Yes, I said. And since Mia is so devoted to you, I assume she would share. Of course she would, Victoria beamed. She looked at the notary. Mr. Miller, get your stamp ready. I placed my document on the table. Just one signature, Mia, I said, handing my granddaughter a pen. Sign here on the line marked authorization to merge assets. And the money is yours to do with as you please. Mia looked at me, confused. She knew I had warned her. She saw the look in my eye, the steel behind the smile. She hesitated. Sign it, Mia. Chase urged, stepping forward. Grandma is helping us. I watched Mia's hand hover over the paper. I was gambling everything. If she signed this, she was technically triggering the poison pill I had secretly added last night. If she signed this, the money wouldn't go to Victoria. It wouldn't go to Mia, it would vanish. Go ahead, honey, I said softly. Give them what they want. There is a specific kind of silence that happens right before a bomb goes off. It isn't peaceful. It is heavy. It sucks the air out of the room. In that honeymoon suite, the air was so thin I could barely breathe. I was asking my granddaughter to sign away her fortune. I was asking her to incinerate $50 million. But I knew that if that money remained, so would the leeches attached to it. Sometimes you have to burn the house down to kill the termites. Mia held the pen. Her hand was trembling so hard the tip was tapping against the paper, leaving tiny blue dots of ink. She looked at me. Her eyes were wide, pleading, searching my face for a sign. She knew I had warned her. She knew I didn't trust Victoria. So why was I handing her the gun? I gave her the tiniest, almost imperceptible nod. Trust me. Come on, Mia, Chase whined from the corner. He was pacing now, looking at his watch. The bank closes in 3 hours. Just sign it so we can go get breakfast. Breakfast. He was selling his wife's future for a bagel and his mother's approval. Do it, darling, Victoria hissed, leaning over the table. Stop being so dramatic. It is just a signature. Mia took a deep breath. She pressed the pen to the paper. Scritch, scratch, she wrote her name. Mia Vance Carter. It was done. Victoria snatched the paper away before the ink was even dry. She practically threw it at the notary. Stamp it, she commanded. Now, Mr. Miller thumped his stamp down. Bam! Victoria grabbed the document and held it to her chest like a holy relic. She closed her eyes and exhaled, a long shuddering breath of pure relief. She wasn't looking at Mia. She wasn't looking at Chase. She was visualizing her bank account balance. Finally, Victoria whispered, "My God, that was harder than pulling teeth." She opened her eyes and looked at me. The mask was completely gone now. There was no more sweet mother-in-law. There was only the shark. Well, Iris, Victoria said, a cruel smirk playing on her lips. I suppose I should thank you. You finally saw reason. It is better for the assets to be in competent hands. Competent, I repeated, keeping my voice neutral. So the plan is to pay off your debts first? The $2 million to the IRS? The foreclosure? Victoria stiffened. She glanced at the notary, who was packing up his bag. That is family business, Iris, she snapped. But yes, we will stabilize the estate. Then we will invest. Chase has a vision for a venture capital firm. Chase perked up. Yeah, crypto, it's huge right now. I looked at Mia. She was sitting slumped in her chair, looking at her husband with a mixture of horror and heartbreak. She was realizing that her honeymoon wasn't about romance. It was a business transaction. And Mia, I asked, pinning Victoria with my gaze. What is her role in this venture? Victoria laughed. She actually laughed. She waved a hand dismissively in Mia's direction. Oh, Mia doesn't have the head for business, Victoria sneered. She is a sweet girl, but let's be honest. She is a bit simple. She will be taken care of. She can redecorate the house, have babies, whatever girls like her do. Simple, I said. Is that what you think of her? I think she is lucky, Victoria said, shoving the papers into her designer bag. She married a Carter. She bought into a legacy. There is a price of admission, Iris. She just paid it. I looked at Chase. And you, Chase? Is your wife just a price of admission? Chase shrugged. He walked over to his mother, not his wife. Mom knows what she's doing, Iris. Don't make it weird. I'm not making it weird, I said, picking up my purse. I'm making it clear. Victoria was already halfway to the door, clutching the folder like a shield. She was vibrating with adrenaline. She had the signature. She had the stamp. She thought she had the world. We really must be going, Victoria said, checking her gold watch. The wire transfer cutoff is at 2 p.m. Chase, get your coat. We have a meeting with the bank manager. Wait, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it had the weight of a gavel hitting wood. You are forgetting something. Victoria stopped. She turned around looking annoyed. What now, Iris? Do you want a thank you note? I'll send one. You need the access code, I lied. The trust is encrypted. You can't just walk into a bank with a piece of paper. You need the trustee's key. Victoria froze. She looked at Chase. Chase looked panic-stricken. They hadn't thought of that. Of course they hadn't. They were amateurs playing a professional's game. Give it to me, Victoria demanded, holding out her hand. Write it down. I will, I said, walking slowly toward the desk where the hotel stationery sat. But first, I want to be absolutely clear about what is happening here. Mr. Miller is still here as a witness. The notary looked up from his bag, looking uncomfortable. He sensed the shift in the room. I want to hear you say it, Victoria, I said, picking up a pen. You intend to take me as $50 million and use it to pay off your personal tax liens and the mortgage on a house you don't own? Victoria rolled her eyes. Oh, for heaven's sake, yes, we are clearing the ledger. It is standard debt consolidation. And you, Chase, I turned to my grandson-in-law, the boy I had bought a suit for, the boy I had welcomed into my home. You are fully aware that your mother is taking your wife's inheritance? You are aware that this leaves Mia with nothing? Chase shifted his weight. He looked at Mia, who was staring at him with tears streaming down her face. Mia doesn't need the money, Chase muttered, his voice defensive. She has me. I'll take care of her. Once the business takes off, I'll pay her back. Probably double. You'll pay her back, I repeated, with crypto. It's the future, Irish, Chase sneered. You wouldn't understand. I looked at Mia. Mia, honey. Look at him. Look at your husband. Mia looked, and for the first time the rose-colored glasses shattered. She didn't see a misunderstood artist. She saw a weak, greedy boy standing behind his mother's skirt. He knew, Mia whispered. You knew all along, Chase. You didn't marry me, you married the money. Chase rolled his eyes. You're being dramatic. We're married. It's the same thing. Thank you, I said. That is all I needed to hear. I didn't write down a code. I put the pen down. There is no encryption key, I said. Victoria's face turned purple. What? You just said. I said that to keep you in the room, I smiled. But you don't need a key, Victoria. Because you aren't going to the bank. I have the signed document, Victoria shrieked, waving the paper in the air. It is notarized, it is legal. I am the manager. Read Clause 44C, I said softly. Victoria looked at the paper. She squinted. I don't have my glasses. What is Clause 44C? Mr. Miller, I said to the notary, you have your reading glasses on. Would you mind reading the bold text at the bottom of page 3? The paragraph titled The Poison Pill? The notary frowned. He picked up the copy I had left on the table. He adjusted his spectacles. Clause 44C, Mr. Miller read, his voice shaky. In the event that the primary beneficiary attempts to transfer, pledge, encumber, or merge trust assets within the first 36 months of marriage, without the explicit written consent of the trustee. He stopped. He looked up at me. His eyes were huge. Go on, I urged. The trust shall be immediately and irrevocably dissolved, Mr. Miller read, and the total value of the principal shall be transferred automatically to the secondary beneficiary. Victoria went still. Secondary beneficiary? Who is that? Chase? She looked at me hopeful. She thought I had set it up to go to Chase if Mia messed up. Keep reading, Mr. Miller, I said. Mr. Miller swallowed hard. The assets shall be liquidated and donated in full to the Feline Friends Sanctuary of Greater Seattle. The room went so quiet you could hear the air conditioning hum. Victoria stared at me. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Cats, she whispered. You gave $50 million to cats? I know how much you hate them, I said. And I know how much you hate charity, so I combined them. You're lying, Victoria screamed. She lunged for the notary, grabbing the paper to read it herself. This isn't legal. Mia signed it. She authorized the transfer. Yes, I said calmly. She authorized the attempt to transfer, and by signing that paper she pulled the trigger on the poison pill. The moment Mr. Miller stamped that document, the money was gone. It isn't Mia's anymore. It isn't yours. It belongs to the kiddies. I checked my watch, and considering the electronic filing system my lawyer set up, the transfer probably hit the charity's account about 3 minutes ago. There is a sound that a balloon makes when you stick a pin in it. A sharp pop followed by a sad, shriveled piece of rubber falling to the floor. That is exactly what happened to Victoria Carter in the middle of the Ritz-Carlton penthouse. Her ego, which had been inflated to the size of a blimp, popped, and what was left wasn't a powerful matriarch. It was a desperate, broke woman standing in a rented suit. Victoria stared at the document in her hand. She shook it as if shaking the paper would rearrange the ink and make the words feline friend's sanctuary disappear. Fix it, Victoria hissed at the notary. She pointed a manicured finger at his chest. You stamped it. You are the witness. Unstamp it. Tear it up, say it was a mistake. Mr. Miller backed away, clutching his bag to his chest. He was a man who notarized car titles and wills for $50. He was not prepared for a $50 million meltdown. I can't do that, ma'am, Miller stammered. The logbook is signed. The seal is applied. It is a legal instrument now. If I destroy it, I lose my license. I go to jail. You'll go to jail if you don't, Victoria screamed. She lunged at him, actually trying to grab his logbook. I stepped in between them. I didn't touch her. I just stood there, solid as a rock. Let him go, Victoria, I said. The show is over, Mr. Miller, you may leave. Mr. Miller didn't wait for a second invitation. He scrambled out the door so fast, he almost left a shoe behind. Now it was just the four of us. The silence was gone, replaced by the heavy, suffocating weight of disaster. You are bluffing, Chase said. He was pale, sweating through his shirt. He pulled out his phone. This is a joke, right, Iris? You didn't actually give the money to cats. You're just trying to scare Mom. Call your bank, I challenged, or better yet, check the tracking number on the transfer request. It was digital, remember? Instant execution. Chase tapped furiously on his phone. He logged into the joint account they had set up, the one they thought would be receiving the funds. It says pending, Chase whispered. Hope flared in his eyes. Keep refreshing, I said calmly. He refreshed. Denied, Chase read, his voice cracking. Error code. Source funds unavailable. Trust dissolved. Victoria let out a sound that was half scream, half sob. She collapsed onto the sofa. She didn't sit gracefully. She fell like a puppet whose strings had been cut. My house, she moaned, my tax lien. The IRS agent said if I didn't pay by Tuesday, they would seize everything. My accounts, my jewelry, Chase's car. She looked up at her son. Chase, she gasped. The loan sharks, the ones you borrowed from for the wedding deposit. What did you tell them? Chase dropped his phone on the carpet. He looked like he was going to be sick. I told them the wire was hitting today at noon, Chase whispered. I told them I would have double the principal for them by dinner. I watched them. I watched the realization sink in. They weren't just disappointed. They were in physical danger. They had borrowed money on the promise of a fortune they never owned. You ruined us, Victoria whispered, staring at me with pure hatred. You knew we were leveraged. You knew we had deadlines. I knew you were frauds, I corrected. I hired a private investigator, Victoria. I know about the rental mansion. I know about the leased Bentley. I know you haven't paid taxes since 2018. Mia gasped. She stood up from the table, clutching her robe. Is that true? Mia asked, her voice trembling. Is everything a lie? The house? The family money? It doesn't matter, Victoria snapped. It was going to be real. Once we had your trust, we could have fixed it all. We could have been the family I promised you. She stood up and advanced on Mia. You stupid girl, Victoria spat. You signed it. You listened to this old hag and you signed away our future. You owe us, Mia. You owe us $50 million. She owes you nothing, I said, stepping in front of Mia. She just paid $50 million to get rid of you. I'd say that is a bargain. There is a moment in every con artist's life when the music stops and they realize there are no chairs left. A smart person would walk away, but desperate people? They try to break the furniture. Victoria Carter wasn't ready to walk away. She was ready to burn the hotel down if it meant finding a penny in the ashes. Chase, Victoria screamed, turning on her son. Do something. Control your wife. Tell her to call the bank. Tell her to say she was coerced. Chase looked at his mother, then at Mia. He looked like a cornered rat, deciding which way to run. He grabbed Mia's shoulders. His grip wasn't gentle. Mia, baby, Chase said, his voice high and frantic. You have to fix this. You have to call the lawyers. Tell them. Tell them you didn't understand. Tell them Grandma tricked you. Mia stood frozen. She looked at his hands on her shoulders, the hands she had held at the altar less than 24 hours ago. You aren't worried about me, Mia whispered. Her voice was flat. Dead. You aren't asking if I'm okay. You're asking for the money. Because they are going to kill us, Mia, Chase shouted, shaking her. The loan sharks. Do you get it? I owe them 200 grand by tonight. If I don't pay, they come for me. You're my wife. You're supposed to protect me. Protect you, Mia asked. A strange, bitter laugh escaped her lips. I was the mark, Chase. I wasn't your wife. I was your bailout. It's not like that, Chase lied, but his eyes darted around the room, betraying him. I love you. But yeah, okay, we have debts, so what? You have 50 million. It's selfish of you to hoard it when my family is drowning. Selfish. He called the girl who just lost her entire inheritance selfish. Mia looked at me. I didn't say a word. I just raised an eyebrow. Your move, granddaughter. Mia reached down to her left hand. She gripped the diamond ring. The ring I now knew was probably leased or bought on credit. She struggled with it for a second. Her hands were sweating. Then it slid off. She took Chase's hand. He thought she was going to hold it. Instead, she pressed the cold metal ring into his palm and closed his fingers over it. Sell this, Mia said. It might buy you a few hours. Chase stared at the ring. Mia, wait. No, you can't leave, we're married. I'll call the annulment lawyer, I said, stepping forward. Fraud is excellent grounds for annulment in this state. And since the marriage was based on a financial lie, it won't take long. Victoria was trembling. She looked at the papers on the table, then at me. You evil old witch, she spat. You planned this. You let us spend the money on the wedding. You let us dig the hole deeper. I let you show your true colors, I said. It cost me $50 million, Victoria. But seeing the look on your face right now, it was worth every cent. I picked up my purse. I put my arm around Mia's waist. She was sobbing silently now, the shock wearing off and the heartbreak setting in. Come on, Mia, I said gently. Let's go, we have a plane to catch. Where are we going? Chase asked, stepping toward us. You can't just take her. I can, I said, and I am. We are going to Paris. I hear the spring season is lovely. I stopped at the door and turned back to Victoria and Chase. They looked small in that big, luxurious room. Small and doomed. Oh, and one last thing, I said. This suite? It's in my name. Victoria glared at me. So I just called the front desk. On my way up, I smiled. I canceled the rest of the stay. Checkout is at 11 a.m. I checked my watch. You have 12 minutes to pack. I'd hurry if I were you. Security is very strict about loiterers. As we walked down the hallway, I heard the sound of a phone ringing inside the suite. It was a loud, jarring ring. Don't answer it, I heard Victoria scream through the door. It's the bank. It's Rocco, Chase yelled back. Mom, what do we do? I didn't hear the answer. The heavy door clicked shut behind us. We got into the elevator. Mia leaned her head on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Grandma, she whispered. You were right. You were right about everything. It's okay, honey, I said, kissing the top of her head. It was an expensive lesson, but at least you learned it now, and not 10 years and 3 kids later. The elevator dinged. The lobby was bright and sunny. The world was still turning. Mia wiped her eyes. She stood up a little straighter. Grandma, she asked, did you really give the money to the cat sanctuary? I smiled, a wicked satisfied smile. Every penny, I said, but don't worry. I have my own money, and I think I might need a new business partner. Someone young, someone who knows how to spot a liar. Mia looked at me. A small sad smile touched her lips. I think I can do that, she said. There is an old saying that if you owe the bank $100, that is your problem. But if you owe the bank $100 million, that is the bank's problem. Victoria and Chase were about to find out that when you owe a leasing company for a Bentley and the IRS for back taxes, that is very much your problem. And unfortunately for them, the repo man drives faster than a lie. We didn't leave the hotel immediately. I had my driver pull the car around to the side entrance. But I told him to wait. I wanted Mia to see this. I wanted her to see exactly what she had walked away from. We sat in the back of the town car with tinted windows, the engine idling quietly. We watched the main entrance of the Ritz-Carlton. At 11:15 a.m. precisely, the revolving doors spun. 2 large security guards marched out. Between them was Victoria Carter. She wasn't wearing her red power suit anymore. She had changed into a tracksuit, trying to look casual, but she looked frantic. Her hair was messy. She was dragging her designer suitcase across the pavement because the wheel had broken. Chase followed behind her. He was on his phone, screaming at someone. I cracked the window just an inch to listen. No, Rocco, please listen. He was yelling, his voice cracking. The wire bounced. It was a technical error. I can get you the cash. Just give me 24 hours. No, don't come to the house. Please. He lowered the phone. He looked terrified. He looked at his mother. Mom, what do we do? Chase asked. He sounded like a 5-year-old. He says he's sending guys to the house. Victoria slapped him. Right there on the sidewalk in front of the doorman and the valet. Shut up, you idiot, she screamed. This is your fault. If you had just charmed her better, she wouldn't have listened to that witch. Mia flinched next to me. She reached for my hand. He never loved me, she whispered. He just wanted a co-signer. He wanted a lifeboat, Mia, I said. But you are not a boat, you are the ocean. And they just learned they can't swim. As we watched, the valet stand didn't bring around their silver Bentley. Instead, a loud rumbling flatbed tow truck backed into the driveway, blocking the entrance. A man in a grease-stained jumpsuit jumped out. He wasn't a Fed. He was a repo man. He checked a clipboard and walked straight to the Bentley that was parked in the VIP spot. Hey, Chase yelled, running forward. Hey, that's my car. What are you doing? VIN number matches, the driver grunted, ignoring Chase and hooking up the chains. Lease is 90 days past due. Manufacturer repo. You can't take it, Victoria shrieked, rushing over. We are guests at the Ritz. This is humiliating. You know what's humiliating, lady? The driver asked, cranking the winch. Bouncing a check for a lease payment 3 months in a row. Step back. As the Bentley was lifted into the air, a second car pulled up. A nondescript gray sedan. A man in a cheap suit got out. He wasn't the IRS. He was a process server. And he looked like he enjoyed his job. He walked right up to Victoria, who was watching her car disappear. "Victoria Carter?" he asked. What? She snapped, distracted. "You are served," he said, shoving a thick envelope into her chest. She had to grab it to keep it from falling. "What is this?" "Foreclosure notice on the hillside property," the man said loudly, "and a summons from the IRS. Regarding the tax lien, you have 30 days to vacate the premises before the sheriff locks it down." Victoria screamed. It was a primal sound of total defeat. She dropped her suitcase. She looked at the tow truck taking her car. She looked at the legal papers in her hand. She looked at her son, who was crying into his phone. She was standing on the curb of a 5-star hotel with nothing but her luggage and a lawsuit. Her empire hadn't just collapsed. It had been repossessed. "Let's go," Grandma Mia said softly, turning away from the window. "I have seen enough." "Driver," I said, rolling up the window. "Take us to the airport." We spent the spring in Paris. It turns out there is no better cure for a broken heart than croissants, espresso, and the realization that you just dodged a bullet the size of a cannonball. Mia cried for the first week. She was mourning the man she thought Chase was. But by the second week, the tears stopped, and by the third week, she started asking questions about cap rates and rental yields. We were sitting at a cafe near the Seine when the email came through. It was from Mr. Sterling. "The annulment is final," I told Mia, sliding my phone across the small table. "You are officially a single woman again." And the restraining order against Victoria was granted. Mia looked at the screen. She didn't look sad. She looked relieved. "What happened to them?" Mia asked. She hadn't asked in months. "Well," I said, taking a sip of my wine. "According to Saul, the IRS does not have a sense of humor. They seized everything. The summer home was foreclosed. Victoria is currently living in a 1-bedroom apartment above a bowling alley in the valley. She works as a greeter at a department store." Mia's eyes widened. "And Chase?" "Chase found a job," I said. "He is parking cars at the very same hotel where you got married. It seems the valet company was hiring. I hear he is very good at parking Bentleys, even if he can't drive them anymore." Mia let out a small laugh. It was a genuine sound. "And the loan sharks?" "Rocco got his money," I said. "Apparently, Victoria sold her collection of vintage Hermes bags. To cover the interest, they are alive, Mia, but they are starting from zero. Just like they tried to make you do." Mia nodded. She looked out at the river. "You know," she said, "I used to think $50 million was a lot of money, but it wasn't enough to buy them decency." "No," I agreed, "it never is." "I don't want the money back," Mia said suddenly. "The poison pill, the cats. Leave it." "Oh, I can't take it back," I chuckled. "It was irrevocable. Besides, look at this." I pulled a glossy brochure out of my bag. It was the quarterly newsletter from the Feline Friends Sanctuary. On the cover was a picture of a very fat, very happy ginger cat sleeping on a velvet pillow. The headline read, "The Victoria Wing opens today. A state-of-the-art luxury facility for senior cats." I insisted they name the new building after her. I smirked. I thought it was fitting. She always wanted a legacy. Now she has one. She is literally supporting the creatures she hated most. Mia laughed. She threw her head back and laughed until people at the other tables stared. It was the sound of freedom. So Mia wiped her eyes. "What now, Grandma? I have no trust fund. I have no husband. I have a law degree I haven't used, and a very expensive lesson under my belt." Now I smiled. "Now we go to work. I have a 50-unit building in Chicago that needs a renovation, and I think I need a project manager who knows how to read the fine print." Mia picked up her wine glass. She clinked it against mine. "Deal," she said. "But I'm writing the contract. I wouldn't have it any other way." And there you have it, ladies. Iris Vance didn't just save her granddaughter's fortune. She saved her granddaughter's future. She taught Mia that no is a complete sentence. and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their own actions. Victoria and Chase thought they were playing chess, but they didn't realize they were playing against a grandmaster. They wanted a payout and they got one. Straight into the kitty litter fund. So here is my question for you tonight. Have you ever had a gut feeling about an in-law that turned out to be right? Have you ever had to step in to protect a family member from their own blind love? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And remember, if someone brings a notary to your honeymoon, run. If you enjoyed seeing the Victoria wing get built, please hit the like button and subscribe. For more stories, this is Mary signing off. Stay sharp, read the fine print, and always trust your instincts.